Hello, Tanya here. So I hope that you enjoyed the island tour of Opalshore by Katie. It was a magical wonderland, and to complement that video, I wanted to create these island creator additional clips, which will feature some of the B-roll of Katie just showing me around, and some insights from her as the creator of how she came about to design different sections, what her design philosophy is, what her favorite areas are, things like that. And it's just to help you get a better sense of the creator and how, what inspires them and how you can get inspired yourself. So I'll try to do these to complement the different tours that I do because I just think the people behind the islands are so interesting. So with this one, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but Katie's a little bit shy about her voice, even though I'm sure it's beautiful. So instead of a gorgeous British accent, you'll just be hearing the whole interview in my Canadian twang with an occasional London lilt. So, yeah, I hope you still enjoy it, and let's get on to the questions. So, my first question was, how did you come up with a name for your island? So, that's Opalshore. So, Katie said, I knew I wanted to use blues, greens, purples on my island, and crystal opal is my favorite stone, which has all those mystical colors. I also wanted it to reflect the island theme of New Horizons, so I started playing around with island words, and I liked the sound of shore the best from the term seashore. So I think that's super cute. It reflects that magical element of our island, as well as, the fact that it is an island, and even though it's super foresty, it's still an island. Okay, so question 2, what is your inspiration? So Katie said, definitely overgrown forests. My new leaf town was called Wisteria, and I used purple and blue flowers on that town too, so definitely took inspo from my old town. I like it to have a magical and witchy feel, and while I've been watching Studio Ghibli during lockdown for the first time, I noticed there are a few similarities between my island and the films, which is perfect because Studio Ghibli is all about the magic. That's incredible inspiration. I think quite a lot of people have been inspired by Studio Ghibli, and it makes so much sense because those are just such works of art and really taps into a similar aesthetic and I think audience. So yeah, that's really cool to hear. So question 3, what is your job in quote unquote real life and how does that translate to the game? So Katie says she studied photography at university, which I want to pursue as a career because I consider myself as a photographic artist. My work responds to landscapes, and I always take photos of beautiful landscapes in natural light that makes it look almost magical. So even my photography influences the way I landscape my island and photograph it for Instagram. So I love that answer. I actually think that it makes so much sense. I've seen little clips of her art, so if you haven't seen it yet, head over to her Instagram. There are some examples on her highlights, and it definitely has that ethereal feeling with real use and play of light. So I think that absolutely translates to the way her island is designed and the way she captures her island in pictures as well. So question 4, what is your favorite part of your island? Katie answered, it isn't a particular area. I just really like my walkways, the in-between areas surrounded by trees, flowers, mushrooms, etc. And I love the fairy path I use as it brings it all together. I totally agree. I think that for me, just wandering around her island was such an experience, and you just really get a lovely flow between all the areas because that path does tie everything together. All right, question 5. What is your design process? How do you start? Do you plan or terraform, etc.? So Katie answered, I start with areas and see a blank canvas and try to imagine a basic outline for it, such as where I could build cliffs and waterfalls. It doesn't always end up as I imagine it because I make it up as I go along when I realize I don't have enough space. After I have the cliffs done, I lay out my path around it, add trees around the edges of the path and on top of the cliffs, and decorate with flowers, patterns, and little items. Yeah, so I think that's a great answer. I have a similar approach myself. Like I think waterscaping and terraforming really helps you see how much space you have for something. So I think that's a really great approach. Question 6. What are your top 3 favorite items to decorate? Katie answered, anthurium plants. I never know how to say that. I hope that's right. So anyways, the green version of that plant. Candles, so the bamboo type, wedding type mom, etc. Log stakes. And then she added a sneaky addition to the top 3. She says, obviously plants, trees, bushes, weeds, and patterns, if they count as items. So yeah, I mean, those are just gorgeous items. I'm not surprised they're our favorites. Question 7. One aspect that makes your island stand out is all the attention to detail and unique decorations all over. How do you achieve that without creating a feeling of clutter? Katie says, I really do try and She says, I really do try and cram a lot in because I like the magical feeling and the eye is always entertained. I do place every item specifically so it doesn't appear cluttered. I like to use patterns and weeds in between flowers so the flowers aren't all close together, as I feel it can make it look cramped. That's such a good tip. I feel like I need to learn from that myself. My flowers kind of became totally overgrown and they just filled in all the patches, and I definitely got that sense that it was just too much, but I didn't really have a good sense of how to break it up. So yeah, I think that's such a good tip and I'll be using that one myself. Question 8. You have such a varied sense of height and levels through your island, and even though you have the same limitations as everyone else, just 8 inclines. Any tips on creating that sense? Definitely building cliffs on the level 1 areas at the front of your island. The bottom half of my map was flat, and I couldn't work with it. The cliffs help separate areas, create new areas, and make the island feel bigger. Also, building down to the first level at the back of your map helps it to give that sense. I wish we had more inclines. Oh, Katie, yeah, I think we all do. But that's a really good tip. I think because I think all the base maps, definitely all the ones I've seen, do start with that kind of flat map and flat level in the beginning, and then terraforms quite high near the back. Kind of switching that around does really surprise you along the journey. So I think that's a great idea to flatten some areas in the back. Question 9. Any advice you have for people who are starting out with decorating or stuck in a design rut? Katie answers, don't rush it. If you don't have an idea, just leave it for a couple of days. Instagram and Tumblr have so much inspo, and I like to scroll and see if there's an idea I can interpret for my own island. Also, it helps to experiment, build a cliff or river you think wouldn't work, and then you may surprise yourself. I love happy accidents. So yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think a lot of us can feel pressured to kind of work as quickly as possible, and if something's not really aligning, then I get a bit frustrated. So I think taking a break and just looking around is a great tip. All right, question 10. Lastly, who is your favorite villager and why? So Katie answered, Rosie used to be, just because of nostalgia value, but recently Kiki is definitely becoming my fave with her link to Kiki's delivery service, the black cat from Coraline, and also I have black cats in real life. That's super cute. I love a cute black cat. That's the Creator Insights video with Katie. Follow her on Instagram at katie.acnh. I'm also on Instagram at Heath Horizons, and I hope you enjoyed that. I loved learning a bit more from Katie about herself and her approach. Stay tuned. Hopefully I'll have some more in the future. Bye.